Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome to today's reading from Brilliant as the Sun, retelling of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4. We are going to conclude the chapter 22 today. Prithu meets the four Kumaras. Verses 33 to 35. We do not benefit either ourselves or our dependents by always thinking how to earn money and spend it for sensual enjoyment. Rather, we lose the opportunity of human life to cultivate knowledge of the soul and realize our true self. People who so misuse their human birth risk descending into lower species of non-moving, living entities such as trees and even stones. As long as one has material desires, he will naturally want to create wealth and enjoy his senses, but this should be done according to religious principles. By leading such a regulated life, one achieves liberation, which is life's real aim that should be ardently pursued. If one gives up religious regulation, whatever he gains in life will be lost at death. Verses 36 to 37. Sometimes people think that worldly opulence is Krishna's favor. Actually, it is due only to one's association with the modes of nature, resulting in higher or lower material situations. The Lord may even favor his devotee by taking away his opulence, which can be an impediment to spiritual life. In any event, he will take everything away from everyone in course of time. Therefore, my dear Prithu, those fortunate enough to have a human body should not waste it simply pursuing wealth and sense pleasure. Rather, they should try to understand Krishna. He accompanies both mobile and immobile living beings who are covered by gross bodies composed of earth, water and fire, and subtle bodies made of life, air, intelligence, and false ego. Verse 38. O King, earlier you asked if we are one with Krishna without any individual identity. Some espouse such an erroneous notion and claim that thinking we are separate from Krishna is like mistaking a rope for a snake. However, if we were all Krishna, it would mean that the Lord becomes conditioned in association with matter. This is false. He is always transcendental. In one sense, there is no difference between the Lord and the matter because it is his external energy. However, it has no influence over him. Although he dwells within the body along with the individual soul, he is situated always in his own spiritual bliss. He merely witnesses the living entity's attempts to enjoy. This can be realized by careful deliberation when we surrender to him and hear his teachings without speculation. Prithu shivered with ecstasy to hear the sage's clear delineation of the truth. The misconception that the soul was fully one with Krishna was repugnant, as it meant you could not render loving service to him. The king shook his head. That would be unbearable. Verse 39. Sanat smiled. Understanding Prithu's mind, the sage remembered how he and his brothers had once sought to merge with Krishna. How foolish they had been, he said. Anyone who wants to easily cut the karmic knots of his past activities must practice bhakti yoga. Bhaktas engage their minds in hearing about, glorifying and remembering Krishna, and their bodies in serving his beautiful form. This is pleasing to the heart and automatically vanquishes desires for material enjoyment, which are otherwise impossible to curb. Jnanis attempt to achieve liberation by philosophical speculation, and the Ashtanga yogis by strenuous physical disciplines. Neither will succeed. The Jnanis wish to merge with the Supreme, and the yogis want mystic powers, which are material desires. However, nothing can satisfy the soul other than Krishna's loving service. Verse 40. The Gyan and Ashtanga yogis undergo severe penance to cross the vast ocean of material ignorance, but they usually fall prey to the sharks of lust, anger, greed, pride, delusion, and envy. The Bhaktas, however, take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, which are like a great boat that carries them to the spiritual realm. Verse 41. Prithu felt surges of bliss. How fortunate he was to receive spiritual instructions from Sanat Kumar, who was not only Brahma's son but also a self-realized soul. Verse 42. The king said, O Brahmin, most powerful one, formerly Lord Vishnu showed me his causeless mercy by appearing at my sacrifice. He blessed me that you would come to my house. To honor that blessing, you are all here. Because you are as merciful as the Lord, you have carried out his order perfectly by instructing me. It is my duty to offer you something in return. Prithu looked around. What could he offer the Kumara brothers? I have a dilemma, as everything I own was given to me by saintly persons such as yourselves. I am only ruling this vast kingdom by the grace of the great sages. Offering you charity would be like giving you remnants of your own food that you previously gave to me. I am therefore unsure what I should present you. Verses 44 to 45, he folded his hands before the four saintly boys and said, Although everything already is yours, like a servant offering a master his own food, I nevertheless offer you my life, personal jewels, children, home, furniture and other household paraphernalia, kingdom, strength, land, and also the state treasury. Only persons of your caliber who are fully conversant in Vedic knowledge deserve to be the commander-in-chief and ruler of the state, for you alone are competent to chastise others and protect the planet. Please therefore accept everything. The Kumars smiled. Dear king, we are renunciants without even clothing. We have no desire for a kingdom and wealth. Verse 46, Prithu said, Please at least accept a little food. Actually, even that is yours. It is only by the mercy of Brahmins like yourselves that we Kshatriyas as well as the Vaishyas and Shudras are able to eat. Indeed, you alone eat your own food, enjoy your own property, and give your own wealth in charity. The four brothers politely declined, saying they were not hungry. Verse 47, Prithu said, I must give you something, but truly I would be a laughing stock if I thought I could ever adequately repay you for your kind instructions. You have explained the path of devotional service to Lord Krishna. This is an invaluable gift, for it is the only means to attain self-realization. Your teachings are clear and fully supported by Vedic evidence. Turning to his minister, he asked for Ganges water, and a golden urn was brought to him. He cupped his hands, and the minister filled them with the water. Then very soberly he encircled his cupped hands before the Kumar brothers. The holy Ganges comes from the Lord's lotus feet. I offer this for your pleasure and pray that you may be satisfied with your own glorious acts of distributing transcendental knowledge. The four boys each took a little water in their right hands and, uttering a prayer to the Ganges, sipped it. Verse 48. The brothers then rose into the air. As they hovered in the sky, Sanat said, O king, we are pleased with your devotion and humility, and by your offering of holy Ganges water. Then they flew upwards and vanished into the heavens. Gasps arose from the citizens. Some said, See how they do not require any machine to travel in the space. Others said, How wonderful that we were able to see such exalted saints. This was certainly only possible due to the grace of our king. Vidur squinted and shielded his eyes. Maitreya said, My dear Vidur, the sun is disturbing you. Let us move more into the shade and continue our discussion there. When the two men were comfortably seated, Vidur said, "Great sage, please tell me more about King Prithu." Verses 49 to 50, Maitreya said, "Prithu was the best of great souls because he was fixed in devotion to Krishna. Since he had no desire other than to satisfy Krishna, he too was always satisfied. He daily engaged in devotional practices such as hearing about and glorifying Krishna, as well as performing his worldly duties as emperor according to time, circumstance, his financial strength, and personal ability as a sacrifice to the Lord." Verses 51 to 52. Thinking of himself as Krishna's servant, he was not inclined to material enjoyment. He offered Krishna the results of his work, accepting him as the supreme proprietor of everything. Although Prithu's kingdom was very opulent, he never engaged in sense gratification. Rather, he utilized everything in Krishna's service. He was like the sun which purifies even a filthy place without being contaminated. In the same way, by engaging everyone in Krishna's service, he purified them while remaining untainted himself. Verses 53 to 54. As a liberated soul, he was never impelled by lust, even when he united with his wife Archi. When he desired to beget children to serve Krishna, he performed the purificatory rituals before conceiving. In this way, he fathered 5 sons named Vijitshva, Rakesha, Haryaksha, Dravina, and Vrika. Prithu embodied all the exceptional qualities of the universal guardians. Verses 55 and 56. As Krishna's pure devotee, Prithu carefully protected the Lord's creation. He satisfied the citizens by his perfect behavior, fulfilling their desires as the sun extracts water from the seas and returns it as rains. He exacted taxes and returned them as welfare activities. He also pleased the citizens exactly like the moon god, who sheds his cooling rays on all. Verses 57 to 58. As no one can conquer fire, none could transgress Prithu's commands. He was powerful like the insuperable Indra, but as tolerant as the earth. In satisfying everyone's desires, he was like heaven itself. The mercy he showed, the suffering was like rainfall after excessive heat. No one could fathom his intentions, for he was as deep and grave as unfathomable oceans. In steadiness of purpose, he resembled Mount Meru, the pivot of the universe. Verses 59 to 60. His judgment matched that of Yamaraj, Lord of Death. His personal affluence was as astonishing that of the Himalayas, which are laden with valuable jewels and minerals. He possessed wealth like Kuvera, treasurer of the gods. His secrets were as unknowable as those of Varun, lord of the waters. King Prithu was as powerful as the wind, which can go anywhere and everywhere. His righteous anger was no less than that of Rudra, the all-powerful expansion of Shiva. Verses 61 to 63. His bodily beauty was like that of Cupid. He was fearless like a lion and affectionate like Manu. The father of mankind, his managerial ability was equal to Brahma's. He displayed all good qualities, and his spiritual knowledge equaled Brihaspati's. His sense control matched that of Lord Vishnu. He was devoted to those who protected cows and rendered service to the spiritual master and the Brahmins. Modest and humble, he would serve others as if he was serving his own self. His glories, as pleasing as those of Lord Rama, spread throughout the 3 worlds and were heard and chanted by the pious ladies and saintly persons everywhere. Vidur effusively thanked Maitreya for his narration. I feel so elevated just by hearing about King Prithu's qualities. Shrill bird song drew both men's attention. 2 Himalayan monal pheasants strutted out of a nearby dense area of bamboo and rhododendrons. The colorful male dipped and sidestepped as he performed his courtship dance, while the tawny female coyly turned away Twilight was approaching, and soon the snow leopards would be on the prowl, yet neither men felt any fear. Miraculously, even predatory animals never bothered the saintly devotees who lived scattered throughout the Himalayas. Maitreya said, "Let us take our baths and recite our mantras, then I will tell you more about the king Prithu." So next time we shall begin from chapter 23. Prithu attains perfection. Thank you for joining. Wish you all a very blissful weekend ahead. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna.